Peter, it's a fantastic image that you've created for us. It's a very important anniversary, the 800th anniversary, but I think what you've done is you've captured the show and you've captured its energy and its purpose in a way that's absolutely unique to me. I mean, I've been involved in the show for pretty much all of my life. I've been running it for the last 23 years, but what you've got has got real energy and detail, and it captures the chaos and it captures the splendour all at the same time. So thank you very much for that.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you like it so much, and that's what I tried to do. You just capture the mood of the whole thing. I kind of stole the idea from my daughter Rose, who's an illustrator, who had done a poster about the one of the canals near where she lives. So she'd done a strip of canal and then the next bit below it, exactly that format. So it was a nice format to get a long parade into four different sections. I was incredibly surprised at first that it's 800 years ago that it started, which is a very long time ago. And I was fascinated by what the first procession might have been like. I mean, when we started to work on it, we didn't have any imagery from the actual parade, so we just checked what people looked like then, what people wore, and just put some people in. But what information is there on the first one?
There's very little information about what the show was. I mean, it begins to emerge sort of in the later Middle Ages, and I think to begin with it was chaotic. It was probably quite rowdy and violent. Yeah. I mean, we hear about giants, wild men, and whifflers were simply people throwing fireworks to clear the crowds out of the way so the Lord Mayor could process.
Most things I do are full of stories, and this particularly, there are all kinds of things going on. In the kind of narrative of the parade, things emerge, so there are particular characters who are up to various antics that you find, and stories, you find stories for yourself. There's a section I like particularly, which is a group of soldiers from an engraving at the time, and it looks like an Edward Borden lithograph, and I love Edward Borden, so I particularly like that. And then the other bit is the contemporary part, sort of last year's. That's fun with the inflatable pig and things like that.
The Lord Mayor show has been captured by some great artists over time. I mean, notably Canaletto painted it, I think, 5 times, and Hogarth covered it in the 12th frame of the Industry and Idleness series. The point I'd like to make is I think that your work is probably the most significant British image of the show since that Hogarth series, which I think is very exciting for all of us. And what's interesting is that you seem to have captured the ribaldry and the kind of the sense of fun. Is that something that sort of came to you from your 21st century experience of it?
Well, I wanted to make a mix of the seriousness of it, but also the balloons and the inflatables and things like that. I wanted it to be fun.
Yeah. No, I think it is fun. I think there's Melvyn Bragg summarised it very nicely. He said, there is splendour and there's a knees up, and I think that's a nice way of capturing it. Yeah.
A job like this, you think about it and go. Your mind selects the possibilities. The newest possibility is working on the computer, because for years I made collages by just cutting up things and sticking them down, and I still do that. But for something like this, it's logical to get all your information onto the computer and then have someone who can do it actually cut the shapes out, and then I arrange them. So in this case, it was the best solution. It is collage, in the tradition of collage, but made on the computer. Well, I hope there's an element of fun to it. There's obviously always a serious element as well, I mean, with the military involved, and there'll always be that element. But I think on the whole, it's for enjoyment.